Welcome everyone to another episode of WRPL, All Things Consumed, a podcast where we talk about all the things we are watching, reading, playing, and listening to. I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
How you doing, Steve?
Doing good. I bought some fruit this week.
Oh!
I'm a big fan of fruit in this house. Go ahead.
Well, any type of fruit? Anything special?
Got some watermelon, got some peaches, got some plums, got some grapes. And I had a question for you. Do you know the secret to picking out good fruit? Because obviously there's some that looks bad, so that's easy. But I feel like I am the master of picking fruit that looks nice, and then the next day I take a bite and go, how is this bad on the inside? How do you tell that stuff?
There's a lot of different hints. Like with watermelon, you want one that has, I believe, the darker green, not the lighter green. Mm-hmm. And you want one spot that's almost kind of brown, because that's where it sat in one spot and grew. So if it has not a dark spot, but a brown spot on it, that's good. And also usually where the stem is, there's a lot of things if it's really dark, then it's good. If it's light, it's not. Every fruit is different. That's why I generally stick with apples and bananas, because you really can't fuck them up. Mm-hmm. If it looks good on the outside, it's probably good on the inside.
Yeah, because I was eating some of the peaches, and they were perfectly good, but I mean, the outsides were gorgeous. I was like, oh man, even if these things aren't ripe, I'll just take a little nibble, and oh, it's still kind of hard, so I'll wait another day or two. And they were fine, but you could tell that they were starting to get a little brown on the inside. Well, how do you tell this when they look gorgeous on the outside? Yeah. And the past 2 times I got watermelon, it was perfect watermelon, and then this time it seemed and I didn't even cut it up for 2 weeks. And then this one got bad in 2 days. And to my knowledge, it just looked like a perfectly good watermelon. But clearly, I need to check more stuff.
Every time I'm buying an odd piece of fruit and I'm not sure, I always Google it and just see. Because it's you got a flick, and do you hear that thunk? Oh, that means there's a lot of water in there, so it's a good watermelon. And
I mean, I was pretty much raised on fruit growing up. There was always fruit in the house. I had it as a snack all the time. And my mom pretty much never steered me wrong. I don't know how she fucking did it, but she always had the best fruit. I was like, does she know the secret? Or did she just take a bite of a bad one? And she was like, all right, I'll throw this away so my son doesn't know. Thanks for being a good mom. That's all I'm saying. It's she always had the best fruit, and I don't know how.
Every piece of your fruit just has a bite out of it. And I just thought that's how they came. Yeah, my 3 favorite pieces of fruit are peaches, plums, and pears. And they're the 3 that are the hardest to figure out if they are good. Especially plums. Well, I'm sorry, I should say peaches are the hardest, because they smell good, they look good, or whatever. Pears and plums are a little easier because of how squishy they are, but I've picked up some plums that are this is going to be a good juicy plum. Look how squishy this is, and it's garbage on the inside. And I haven't had a good plum in years, but I had some good pears 2 weeks ago. Just perfect pears. They were amazing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of pears, but that's the one I always am afraid to bite into, because I mean, I haven't done a lot of pear buying in my day, but it's I've gone to pears and be ooh, this looks good. I take a bite and it's rock hard. Yeah. And then it's just it does that thing where it pushes into your gums and kind of stings your gums a little bit, because you it's not soft.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I haven't bought a pear in a long time, but I do love eating some pears.
You know what I like about pears? They're kind of gritty. There's not a real grit to them, but there's something gritty about them.
Were you the person who told me you don't like a certain fruit?
I don't like mango because they taste dirty.
Because they do.
That's a flavor thing, not necessarily a texture thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mangoes suck. Fuck mangoes.
Anyway.
Good fruit talk.
Yeah. What's going on with you?
More of the same. You work, you sleep, you eat, you watch something, you try to play something. I tried to play the PlayStation games of this month, and
oh, you tried playing both?
Both of them, yeah. I was playing Predator Hunting Grounds and doing the tutorial. I'm okay, I could kind of get behind this. This is kind of fun, but it's not the greatest control scheme, but I could adapt to it. But it's not a single-player story game.
Yeah,
it's a multiplayer thing, and I don't want to play with anybody unless they're in the room with me. Maybe I could play a Mario Kart or something like that, but I'm not a online shooty game person.
Online shooty game person is the official title. Those kind of players.
And then I try to play Hitman 2. Yeah, fuck that game. Well, it's like I played the intro where it's kind of simple.
Yeah.
You're going around the house, but it's like I'm picking up everything and I don't know what I'm doing. I have like tons of just things that I can throw, and I'm poisoning stuff, and I'm making sinks overflow, and it's like I don't know what any of this does. And then it's like kill this person. I'm like, okay, shoot, kill her, and then I get attacked, and it's like, okay, I could be a little more stealthy about that, but there's no like hand-to-hand combat unless it's like a quick time thing. And it's like, oh, I picked up a samurai sword. Oh, I'm gonna fuck this guy up.
I was so excited to use that.
No,
I was like,
you throw it.
Oh, you throw
Everything that you can pick up that seems like it's a throwing thing. So you're behind him and just like, oh, I got that butcher knife. I throw it. So I didn't like that, but I was just like,
I
whatever.
figured all the little stuff you could throw pretty much anything, but I assume the samurai sword you could go up and just shank a dude.
No, if you want to like take out a guy, you gotta use the garrote. Instead of going on to the next mission, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do the training, and it's like a boat in a warehouse, and it's, I don't know, did you do this at all?
I did not. I just played the first mission, and I didn't even, like, I played a couple times, because I did the same thing as you. Like, I went through the house, I was collecting all the stuff, and I didn't poison any of the drinks. I mean, in retrospect, I was like, oh, I should have done that. Yeah, when their target comes in, it just seemed too easy to just shoot him, so I was like, all right, well, maybe I'm going to take out all these guys, so I don't have to, like, worry about it. And then, like, I would just get lazy and they would catch me, because there's, like, so many dudes. Like, I figured it'd be, like, 8 or something like that. But there's, like, 20, because, like...
Because they keep coming in from the outside.
From the outside, yeah.
And my girl, she ran off, and I had to go chase her down the beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that would have been, like, a cool shot in a movie, though. Like,
I mean, there were still tons of guys.
Yeah. But then eventually, I was just like, all right, well, let me see what happens if I just shoot her instantly. And then I did, and then just shootout ensued. And I was like, all right, well, this is stupid.
Yeah.
So then I just got frustrated, because, like you said, that was my problem, too. It was like, there's no hand-to-hand combat. Like, I can't... Like, the quick cut fighting or whatever is fine, but it's not what I wanted. And even though it's like the starter mission that kind of tells you how to play, it's not super descriptive in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they go like, this is one way you can do it, and it shows you, knocking out, like, knock out 3 guys, then you can get her. Okay, or maybe you want to be more stealthy and plug up the sink, let it overflow, and then you throw a battery on it when she goes to investigate it. Or, and it's like, just have you try out these different scenarios just to get it, but it just seems like you could pick up a bunch of stuff and then you just shoot them,
Yeah.
And then when I got to this little training mission, it does that a little bit better, where it's like, oh, you can't go in here because you're not wearing the right uniform. Let's go try to knock out a guy and wear his outfit. Okay. And so it teaches you a few things. I was like, okay, that was fun enough. And they're like, now let's do it again and try something else. Like, you could poison the soup in the kitchen, or there's a whole bunch of different things, because there's a lot of, like, bonus objectives, like kill him in a cop uniform, or, don't get alerted, blah, 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 all these things.
I think the main reason I didn't poison anything was because, I mean, when I saw that you could poison stuff, I was like, okay, I assume, like, you can do this in the game, but it never outwardly said, like, poison this thing. I guess I was, because the mission never made it clear, like, am I only supposed to kill her? Like, I know, like, when you kill a guy, it's, like, non-target kill. Yeah. It'll say that. It's like, okay, so, like, I don't have to kill these guys. Maybe I shouldn't kill these guys. It's like, so if I poison all this stuff, like, I'm just going to kill these people, and then I'm going to, like, lose experience or whatever. And it never really just described that. I was like, okay, well, what if there was a kid in here? Like, how, if that was part of the mission, it's like, what if I do this stuff early thinking, like, I beat the game, but then the game's like, oh, nope, you poisoned the housekeeper now. You lose the mission. It's like, well, like, that's...
You didn't tell me I couldn't poison the housekeeper.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even tell you how to reload. I had to, like, find out myself. And it's like the run button or whatever. You just tap it to reload. Right. So it's flashing on the screen like, reload, and like, tell me the button, dumb game. And so when I'm trying to do the boat mission, in a different way, the control map is not what I expected. And so it wants you to interact with triangle, and I kept thinking I had to interact with square. And so I'd be like walking to a door, and there happened to be a woman standing there, and all of a sudden I just like grab her and start choking her out, and then I get alerted and the cops come and shoot me, and it's like, stop doing that. And it just didn't feel intuitive. I just felt like I was pressing the wrong buttons all the time. And I know I could probably remap it or whatever like that, but I'm not wasting my time. I want to feel like I could play it as they want me to, and I couldn't. So I deleted both of those real quick.
Oh, you leave it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If I don't like it, it's just like, nah, it's gone. I'm not coming back to this.
Yeah, I mean, I am going to delete Predator. I basically downloaded that just to see what it was like. I knew I was going to continuously play it because I knew it was an online thing. And I think, like, it had its potential. That's, like, the biggest downside to that is, like, I think being the Predator and running around and, like, killing people was, like, kind of cool, and the way you kind of traverse through the trees and stuff. Like, there was elements there that could work if you built a solid story around it. But since there is no story, it is just a shooty game. What is it
Shooty guy game.
Shooty guy game. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, this is going to run its course real fast. That game was a little bit of a disappointment. And Hitman, I think I'm going to give another chance. I'm going to get past the first level, and then I'll try the second level. And if the second level is just infinitely harder, or I just don't feel like it's fun, because I don't mind stealth games per se, but at the same time, like, if I'm doing a level for 45 minutes because I, like, can't get caught by these dudes, or every time I try something that fails and kicks me back a while, I'm not going to play that game. Like, I like action too.
And I like stealth with, like, say, Last of Us 2.
Right.
Most of the time, I was stealthing all the guys. It's just like, I have that need to, like, save your bullets. You're going to run out. Don't go shooting. Don't go shooting because you're not going to have a health kit or whatever. So I, like, stealth kill everybody. But in this game, if you're seen by a cop and you're crouching just, like, behind something, they find you suspicious, and then they come after you. And it's
You've never just crouched behind stuff with a bunch of people around and...
Yeah, it's I like the idea of you can do this mission in a ton of different ways. I like that it's open.
Yeah.
But I can see myself playing that game, and most of the time is I'm going to be stealthy, and I'm going to shoot them, and then I'm going to run away.
Yeah, if I have a silencer, why would I use a shuriken?
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool that I can use it.
Sure.
It's cool that I can use piano wire. It's the arsenal of weaponry is great.
Yeah.
But realistically, just using a silencer on everybody. Or if I get caught and it gets loud, take that machine gun and just mow everybody down.
Yeah. So, we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk... There were some video game trailer releases. Our main topic... What's our main topic? Oh, yeah. Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty,
We're going to do a little recap of the Rick and Morty Season 5. We watched a couple of movies. So, let's get into it.
Do you want to talk movies first or do you want to talk games first? I guess let's talk games first, because who cares?
Who cares? All right, so yeah, let's talk video games first. There's a lot of stuff released, some little trailers, some big trailers. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, we're obviously, I think, I think the Team Xbox, Team PlayStation thing is real fucking stupid.
Yep.
Who cares?
Sure.
But you and I typically lean towards the PlayStation route just because we believe that they have better exclusive single-player narrative games, and that's the shit we love. And so I'm here to talk about some of these single-player narrative games that looked interesting and/or remasters.
Cool.
So first up is Knights of the Old Republic. Originally released in 2003, is now remastered, coming next year, I believe. A lot of people consider it the greatest Star Wars game ever made, and the teaser is just Darth Revan, pulls out a lightsaber in a dark corridor, a shot we've seen a billion times, but it's still cool to see.
Yeah.
I only want to talk about it because it turns out neither one of us has played it.
Yep.
Obviously, Star Wars is huge.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been hoping for this game, I think, for a long time. So it's definitely going to be on my radar in terms of interest.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if I don't get it. But, it's still always interesting to talk about Star Wars. And especially if it's lore that I don't know, because I don't know anything about this game.
Yeah.
So
Next.
Number 2, we have a sneak peek at Wolverine.
Yeah.
From Insomniac.
Didn't see this coming.
Yeah, I did not see it coming either. And same company that made the Spider-Man games, which is exciting because the last, Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales were both fantastic. A lot of fun to play. So in the trailer we see Wolverine sitting at a bar. The bar is now in shambles because clearly he got in a big old bar fight and knocked everybody out. Then as he's taking a drink of his, I assume, Canadian whiskey, Thug gets up from the ground with a knife, goes to stab him, and then claws come out. Schnicked. Yep, and then end of teaser. It just doesn't show any gameplay, doesn't show really anything, essentially. But it's still pretty exciting. I guess the real question is, will it be bloody violent or would it be Spider-Man kind of fun? Like,
I can't see it not being at least somewhat bloody. It may not be people torn in half, but definitely we'll see like splurts of blood. I think it'll be a middle ground. I'm really curious as what is the game? Is it an open world game? Because like if we're comparing it to Spider-Man, well, Wolverine doesn't travel like Spider-Man
doesn't
does.
Traverse the terrain.
Yeah, and
it's just him on a Harley Davidson.
I guess they
it's
could.
gone. It's Days Gone meets Wolverine.
I don't want an open world, really. I want more linear story. I would like it more back to Last of Us, where you have maybe sections that are larger than normal, but it's not the whole game at your fingertips at one time. I want to go from level to level because I want to do crazy things with Wolverine that maybe don't work in an open world game. Like, you know, I want to climb a sentinel and stuff like that, but I don't want to climb the side of a building, you know, with his claws. Yeah, that's not necessary for me. So I don't want to go to a bar to have a drink and boost my stats or go change my outfit and stuff like that. That's not what I care for a Wolverine game.
I mean, if they tried to make it Marvel's version of a Western, that might be interesting. But I'm not saying I want Red Dead Redemption or anything like that. I'm just saying if I could see them sort of going that route if it's just Wolverine. Like, are we running into other mutants? I mean, I assume we're going to run into other mutants, but I just mean, like, will we see the X-Men? Are the X-Men dead in this? Is it technically in the same world as the Spider-Man games? I would think so, but if this game is sort of more R-rated and bloody, will it really fit tonally with Spider-Man? Could you play them in tandem and be like, oh, okay, this all makes sense?
So I definitely think they should steer away from the open world, because the main thing with open worlds is how do you get around? Usually it's cars, could be a horse, might be flying, or web swinging, and Wolverine doesn't really fit with those. So a little more like X-Men Origins Wolverine, the game. I don't know if you ever played that.
I never played. I did watch some footage on YouTube after that trailer came out, and seemed kind of fun the way he was doing berserk mode and cutting people up.
It's, you know, way bloodier than the movie itself, and like, you know, chunks of him are actually missing when he gets attacked, and they slowly grow back over time. His clothes actually get ripped up. It's a really fun game.
So, any other thoughts on Wolverine?
Not particular. Just
yeah, we really don't have anything.
We don't have anything to go on. Just give me good combat, a good voice cast, and some fun villains, and I'll probably get it day one.
All right. Number 3 on my list, Alan Wake Remastered. Did you ever play Alan Wake?
No, it was one of those, like, I really should play this, but nah.
Originally came out in 2010 for the Xbox 360. I believe it was Xbox exclusive.
Really?
Yeah. And so now but weirdly it's an exclusive for PlayStation.
It was an Xbox exclusive?
I think so.
I thought I was going to, like, pick it up at a secondhand store.
I mean, I know I played it on the Xbox 360.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Hey, maybe that's why I didn't play it, because it was like, ooh, that looks fun. Oh, Xbox? Well, fuck that.
But for people who don't know, the game is about a thriller novelist who has to uncover the mystery behind his wife's disappearance, while events from his latest novel that he doesn't remember writing start to come to life. It seems like that kind of game that would be right up your alley.
Yeah.
I remember I was 20 when this game came out, and I remember really liking it. I remember using a flashlight to defeat shadow monsters and that kind of stuff. But if you ask me to tell you the plot of the game, like, I don't remember. It's been 11 years. But I remember really liking it. So if the game's like $20-$30, I might pick it up. I'm not dropping $60 on a remaster. But I had a lot of fun playing it. Would recommend it to you if and when it comes out. Yeah. And if I do get it, I'll probably let you borrow it. And we'll talk about it on here.
You buy more games than I do. Yeah. But you've been a lot more digital lately. But it's always nice when you buy a game I want to play.
Well, I've only been buying digital lately because there's no big games worth buying.
Yeah.
I think, what was the last big game I bought? Miles Morales? Probably, yeah.
And because I had to, like, reboot my PlayStation and stuff, I was just like, man, should I be playing Spider-Man again? Should I play Miles Morales again?
Yeah, after I saw that teaser, I did almost go like, well, I never played the DLCs. Maybe I'll do that. But then I think that's like $5 a pop, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do that.
But that's just a game. You know, you turn it on and you jump off your first building, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. I am the coolest character in the world. Because no game like the Arkham games were great because they really did make you feel cool, and you were Batman. Spider-Man does it better because he can shoot webs and do things like, yeah, throw a batarang, whatever. But at least in the game, can Batman pull like a steel girder into a person?
Yeah, it's funny that Batman is a real person, yet he does things in that game where it's like, it just doesn't seem realistic because he's the ultimate person, I guess. So in a weird way, it's a little bit more unrealistic than you being someone with superpowers, because you can go like, you've already established the like realm of fantasy of like, okay, I have power, so now you can do all this crazy stuff and go like, yeah, that tracks. So it just makes more sense to be Spider-Man versus
they should have just made Batman get bit by a radioactive bat and everything would have made more sense.
Or Man-Bat kills Batman, then he takes up the mantle, and then he's the new savior of the city. But now he's like actually terrifying to the criminals because he is a human monster. Yeah. Have they ever done that story? Because like,
I don't know if Man-Bat has ever been like a, like a Professor Hulk sort of thing where he's aware of what he's doing.
That's our twist, baby. I think that's we'll call up comic books, DC, and be like, we have a hot take for Batman.
Would it be Man-Batman or Man-Bat-Batman? Man-Batman. That sounds weird. It's like a man bit by a radioactive man. Yeah, so it'd have to be Man-Bat-Batman.
Maybe Batman. We're getting a whole other thing here, but I don't care.
This isn't This Meets That. This is Whirlpool.
It would be like, maybe, do you know the professor's name? You know, the lizard of the Batman universe?
Yeah.
With his Professor Professorson. It doesn't matter. He gets bit.
I think his name is Professor Echo Leatherwings.
Yeah. E Leatherwings.
Who is this Man-Bat creature? I don't know. Let's go ask the Professor Echo Leatherwings, the leading expert on bats.
That's such a comic book thing to do, too. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Yeah. Spider-Man looks cool. Oh, what a...
we weren't even talking about Spider-Man.
Were we not talking about Spider-Man?
We were not talking about Spider-Man. We were talking about Alan Wake.
Oh.
But
can we get to Spider-Man, please?
No, I have other stuff I want to talk about.
Fine, Alan Wake, it's great, yeah.
Number 4, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection. So this is Uncharted Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 is one of my favorite games I've played. What's your experience with the Uncharted franchise?
I love Uncharted. I had a rocky start because I didn't play a ton of games for the PS3. Like, I played God of War 3. I was living in Vegas at the time, and my buddy had a PlayStation 3 and a huge TV in his room, but I could only really play it when he was gone because, I'd be in his room. And I tried to play Uncharted, because he's like, you gotta play Uncharted 1 because there's a thing in Uncharted 2 that is like so amazing, and it happened to when the building's falling and you're sliding down and stuff. Yeah. He's just like, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen in a video game, and I want you to play it, but you need to play part 1 first. And I could not get past like the first level. The sensitivity of the aiming was so just like whip pan, and I couldn't shoot anybody. It was just like so damn fast, and just these normal goons are like dodging and weaving, and so I gave up. And I didn't realize, because that was kind of around the time where you could adjust your sensitivity of aim and camera controls and stuff. And then once I did that and I got it more on my level, I like went through all the first 3 within like 2 weeks. I just powered through. And I do love 4. I love them all. I think 2 is probably my favorite.
2 is most people's favorite.
But I do love 4, except for all the car stuff. I could do without the car stuff.
Yeah. It's hard because I've essentially played 1 through 4
in a row.
Because I think when I got my PlayStation 3, I got it a couple years after it came out. And then they released the Uncharted collection for PS4. So I played 1, 2, and 3, and then I think after I played those, then I went and bought 4. I remember when 1 came out, I remember watching a friend play it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this looks kind of cool. But I really only saw like an hour worth of gameplay, so it didn't really track to me what was happening. And then I played 1, and that game was a lot of fun. And then 2 took that game and blew it out of the water. Mm-hmm. And then 3 came out. Oh, and then I played 3. I'm just describing how you play games in chronological order. It doesn't matter.
You do 1, then 2, and follow it with 3? You're a madman.
But yeah, so I loved 1 through 3 all the way through. I think, obviously, it's Indiana Jones kind of inspired, and they talk about making games into movies and how this is the game you make into a movie. Mm-hmm. And I know that they're doing that with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as Sully, which I think is just a god-awful choice.
You throw a mustache on him and a wig of Sully's hair, and I could go, fine, whatever. You got the cigar, you got the mustache, that's good enough.
It's just Mark Wahlberg.
It's just Mark Wahlberg, and he's not good in most things, so why is this your first choice?
And if this is the origin story, which they do cover in the game...
Sure.
Why? If you want to do an origin story with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, I guess fine, but then your next 3 movies shouldn't have them in it, which is just a weird choice. I mean, assuming if you do like the trilogies from the game or change it however you like. If they made totally different stories for the movies, I'm okay with that. If they want to do like, oh, then this game we're going to go to Atlantis, because they never go to Atlantis, but it's like, sure, whatever the fuck, who cares? But Tom Holland, he's a great actor. He's a grown man.
Yeah.
But does he look like one? No.
No.
And I don't think Mark Wahlberg gives a shit about this franchise or this character. He's like, oh, this is a big budget movie I can put my name on and make a bunch of money. Sure, I'll do that. So I have no faith in this movie.
No.
And
if it was like they played the versions in the past and they had older versions where it's like Tom Selleck and
Nathan Fillion,
obviously they're both a little too old. And each movie was we're going on this adventure and you're flashing back to a lesson you learned as a kid and you want to use the younger versions, that's fine. But there's no way Tom Holland is Nathan Drake. Even in the next 25 years, he's never going to look like Nathan Drake.
Probably not.
I mean, that's cool that they're releasing that, because I didn't get to play the other one.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lost Legacy is the one a lot of people ignored just because Nathan Drake isn't the star of it. And
it's also very puzzle heavy. It's not action heavy. It's puzzle heavy.
All the games are.
No, puzzle. I mean, it's like that's one of them. It's where the other one's maybe like 30 puzzle, 70 action. This is 70 puzzle, 30 action.
Well, either way, I didn't buy Lost Legacy. I found it at a local library and rented it for free. And I'm
yes, there are libraries that let you rent video games.
Which
apparently,
yeah, at the time I didn't know it was a thing. But I played that game and it surprised me how much I enjoyed it. I think a lot of people ignored it just because it seemed like a dumb DLC or something like that. And it's 2 women. It's like who cares?
I'm not playing with fucking chicks.
It's like I play Uncharted for Nathan Drake, and Nathan Drake not being in it, it still doesn't hold the game back. These 2 characters who you meet in 2 and 4 are a good duo together, and their dynamic's a lot of fun and kind of expands the world a little bit more. And then Thieves End, I think might be my favorite, only because it's a little bit more grounded in reality. It doesn't have like the magic stuff is fun in the other games, but I kind of like that there's no like big apocalyptic event or anything like that.
That's the thing that holds the Tomb Raider games back.
And I like the dynamic between him and his brother, even though his brother was never mentioned in any previous games.
Yeah.
And I like the finality of this. It ends in a very...
If Dominic Toretto could have a brother that shows up out of nowhere after 8 movies of never being mentioned, it's okay that Nathan Drake does.
Sure. Anyway, if you haven't played any of the Uncharted games, get the Uncharted collection 1 through 3, and then pick up this one. That way you'll have all the Uncharted games, at least Uncharted game. I don't know if there's like mobile games or something you can get, but who cares about those? So 1 through 4 and Lost Legacy, pick them up. Each one's great. Each one is a ton of fun to play.
Steve was paid by Naughty Dog to plug that.
Also, have you guys heard of The Last of Us? Oof, let me tell you about this. Next up, we have a game from Square Enix called Forspoken, which I showed Ben this trailer right before we started recording.
Yeah. Very cool trailer. Terrible name, though. It's like, I know Forsaken, but Forspoken? Is that a word? That sounds like something a dumb person says trying to sound smart.
Can you use it in a sentence?
You can't dance with my girl. She's Forspoken.
Okay, fair enough. I can see that. So this is an open world traversal game where you play a girl from modern times named Frey, who somehow gets teleported to this magical land of Athea and is guided by a talking bracelet. She uses magic to fight an evil dictator.
Wow, original.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say story-wise, that sounds generic. It sounds like, you know, when all the movies...
A kid in King Arthur's court.
Yeah, when after Harry Potter hit it big, every tween book needed to be turned into a movie. So you have like The Seeker and that one with the book and Freddie Highmore is twins.
What?
Freddie Highmore plays twins, and there's a book and Seth Rogen.
The Spiderwick Chronicles?
Spiderwick Chronicles.
I totally forgot about that game.
Cirque du Freak, the vampire assistant or whatever.
Yeah.
It sounds like one of those stories.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks really fucking cool.
Yeah, the thing that got me excited for the trailer, like I was going through the comments on YouTube because I always want to see what other people think of the trailer. They're like, the dialogue's really clunky and the story seems a little like one note. But I thought the use of magic in the game looked a lot of fun, especially in that final shot. I don't know if that's just essentially part of a cutscene, but if you can form water around a group and then instantly freeze it, that looks super fun. It looks like almost you might be doing like elemental control, so you're essentially the Avatar.
That's what I was saying. Is like, wow, they should make an Avatar game.
Yeah, if you can make an Avatar game for this is going to be awesome. And then it looks like she also has magic running boots or something like that, so she can like kind of run through the air, and she's got like a whip thing that connects her to stuff, and she's, I don't know, just the way she's moving around seems like a lot of fun too. So it could be Spider-Man-esque in that way.
Yeah. I don't really have much to add. It's a great looking game, and
it's one of those games that I could see from a trailer looking really cool, and then the reviews came, like this. I could see this being Cyberpunk. Like it looks really impressive, and there's a lot of cool elements to it. And you're like, oh, I can't wait to play that game. And then it comes out, and then it's just like real buggy, or the story sucks, or something.
But it looked like most of the stuff that they showed was in-game gameplay, not cutscene stuff.
Sure, but I think I could be wrong, because I wasn't one of the people who was like super excited for Cyberpunk, but I feel like they had trailers where, you know, you're first person, you're walking through and like everything looks gorgeous, and then the game comes out and then everything looks like PS2 graphics, you know, for certain glitches and stuff. So from the trailer, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Am I gonna go out right now and pre-order it? No.
Don't pre-order anything.
Don't pre-order anything. Yeah, we're not pre-orderers here.
No, because they'll make enough. It's not like actual systems where they need special cards and stuff that only are manufactured in 2 locations in the world. Video games are real easy to produce, so and they'll never ever run out of digital downloads. So you're fine. Do not pre-order anything. I mean, if you get a really cool statue, you know, I could understand getting
if there was something physical I could get.
Yeah. Oh, this comes with a Master Chief helmet. Okay, I get it. But it's not like you're just paying the $60 for the game. You have to pre-order it at like $120, so you're just buying it anyways.
But Ben, I need that Kratos Halo crossover skin. We kind of touched on it earlier, but Insomniac Spider-Man 2.
Yeah! Alright, first thing. I'm glad that they didn't like kill off Peter Parker in order to get Miles Morales. I like that they're existing at the same time, in the same world.
I'm surprised the game's not called like 2 Spider-Men or something like that. Like, because I imagine in this game you will be able to play with both.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's going to be you can play the game as one or the other and it won't matter because, like, technically they're both on the mission at the same time, so cutscenes won't matter, but when you're playing the game, you could play either one. It's like, well, you can do these things with Miles Morales, like the cloak of invisibility and the shocking and stuff, but Peter has more web tech, And, or are you like, this mission has to be Peter Parker, this mission has to be Miles Morales?
I think it's going to be that. I mean, it could go... we might not even have both of them. I think there'll be a mission where you play Miles, but it could easily be a thing where there's Spider-Man games and then there's the Miles Morales games. And then something happens, like maybe in the very first mission, you're playing as Miles and you're fighting a villain and then you think you defeat him and then here comes something and then puts Miles in a coma or
knocks him through a building and here comes
something
Peter.
And then Peter is like, okay, and then Miles is out of the game and so it's like, okay, well now I need to do something to help Miles recover. We'll just get right into it. In the teaser you see Venom. Maybe this leads Peter to fighting Venom and then the symbiote suit gets on him and so Peter's doing like all these not so cool things in order to like try and save Miles in some regard, and so Miles is just like, I don't want you to do that. I mean, we're speculating a lot here, but I'm just saying, like, just because you see both of them in the trailer doesn't mean that they're both gonna be the full blown game that plays both.
So yeah, we see Venom for 2 seconds. Good design. Like the eyes look really unique. Are we thinking it's
Eddie Brock?
No. Other Osborn kid.
Harry
Osborn. Are we saying it's Harry Osborn? Because at the end of the last game, remember he like had cancer and was in a tube. And Norman had the symbiote.
Yeah.
Or maybe they go to treat him with it and it doesn't want to bond and it breaks out. And then gets on Eddie Brock, who happens to be reporting about this breakthrough.
I could see Eddie sort of sneaking into Oscorp, and that might even be like that would be the Mary Jane mission, is you play as Eddie Brock and you have to like sneak past the the Osborn guards or whatever, and then
we could
because maybe he's for whatever reason investigating the disappearance of Harry,
or he's getting the scoop where like Norman's saying, hey, I have this breakthrough thing that's going to cure my son, and he's invited the press to it, but then something goes wrong and everybody out, but then Eddie stays behind.
I mean, I think it might be fun if you did Harry as opposed to Green Goblin, but at the same time, it wouldn't bother me if they stuck with the normal thing where it's like, okay, Venom is Eddie Brock, and
that's the thing I think that hurt Spider-Man 3, the movie, was they felt the need to introduce Eddie Brock because they were forced to have Venom. You just turn Harry into Venom. You don't turn him into Goblin 2. You have him looking through all of his dad's stuff and old tech or whatever, and he's like wanting to use it, but then Norman has the symbiote just in a canister or whatever. And then you can do a Spider-Man versus Spider-Man fight, and it's his friend, and so you can resolve all that stuff instead of forcing Topher Grace into the movie. Who I don't hate Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, and I don't hate Spider-Man 3. I actually love Spider-Man 3, but I'm okay with just, who cares? Eddie Brock is no one to me. Harry Osborn is more important of a character to Peter Parker.
Yeah, as beloved as Venom is, I don't think he's beloved because of Eddie Brock. It's just
he doesn't have to stay with him. He stays on Harry, and then after Peter defeats it slithers down a sewer pipe and gets on Eddie Brock in part 3. Well, who cares? Yeah.
Or maybe there'll be a part where it gets on Miles and or Peter, and then they have to fight each other. And that could be a cool thing. It's like, Miles has to fight his mentor because he's gone mental with this Venom symbiote suit.
Yeah, I wonder if they put the symbiote on Miles in the comics before, because I know it's gotten on like Spider-Gwen, but it's interesting.
Do they call her Gwenum?
Yeah.
Is it really? Yeah. Nice. That's funny. But
and then I think in that universe it's like she gets the Venom symbiote and Mary Jane gets Carnage. It's like the red hair and stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. So this game, pretty far away, 2023 release. But the thing we didn't talk about yet, and this is the part that I'm most excited for, because I think we're both fans of this character and we don't see him enough, but it seems like the narration during the teaser is all Kraven the Hunter, and that makes me excited because I think Kraven the Hunter is a super cool character that we only ever really get to see in the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon, and I think there's a lot of potential there for real interesting storytelling with that character, but we don't get to see a look at him yet.
No, I think the trailer is trying to make you believe that who is talking is Venom.
Sure.
But it's it's obviously not. And Tony Todd is doing the voice of Venom, so that's cool. Candyman.
Yeah.
And so when that because I read that information first, and then when I'm watching the trailer, it's just like, wait, is this isn't Tony Todd? There's no way this is Venom. So it's like, oh yeah, that's Kraven. That's cool. And now it's like he has 2 Spider-Men that he's going after, and I bet the Lizard will be in this one because the Lizard wasn't in the last game. Because that's always seems to be the first thing is like, the Lizard is terrorizing the town. Kraven comes in, is able to get him because that's his thing, taking down big animals and stuff. So I bet that will be one of the intros to his character.
Now, I can't remember. Like, they never reference the Lizard at all in the first game, or
I think so. I mean, he may say Professor Connors at some point.
Sure, yeah. Because I think like if you web swing over the university, I think he mentions Professor Connors. Because I think the first game, what was great about it, it wasn't Spider-Man Year One. He wasn't meeting, like, he's fought and defeated multiple of these heroes.
Villains.
Sorry, yeah, villains. Thank you. So, and the only new ones were Mr. Negative and
I think that's
so
it.
Was that it? Yeah.
I mean, they did like a gender swap for the Miles Morales game for the Tinkerer, but that didn't have any new villains in it, I don't think.
Yeah, because the big final... Oh, well, I guess Doc Ock was the...
Yeah.
It was another villain he never fought before. But I love the Doc Ock.
Origin of Doc Ock, yeah.
And that was the origin of Doc Ock. So other than that, like every other villain he had fought. So I was just curious if there's other ones we haven't seen yet. Yeah. But if every villain in this is a new villain, that works for me too.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so is there anyone besides Lizard, Kraven, and Venom you want to see? I imagine throwing Carnage would be a little too much.
Too early.
Yeah.
I think we need a Green Goblin, but they may save that for a part 3 as well. I want to be able to chase someone through the city and, web swing after him. They hit all the main ones.
Yeah, if I could see if they do more stuff with the symbiote in this one, and Norman is sort of the handler of that. Like, he builds a suit to handle this alien thing, and then that suit is the precursor to the Green Goblin gear.
Sure.
So I think we'll probably get a tease of it. Maybe even like the final mission, you sort of see it a little bit in action, but I think it'd be safe for the third one if Spider-Man 3 will be the finale of this series, let's say. Yeah.
I guess the only person they haven't really done would be Sandman. And I can see them going, let's not put Sandman and Venom in the same movie. We don't want to draw parallels to Spider-Man 3. But Sandman's a pretty cool villain, and you could do a lot with him in video game form.
Yeah, can he make... I don't recall Sandman's powers. Like, I know in the movie he's pretty much just himself, but can he make, like, copies of himself in sand?
I think as long as he has enough sand.
Interesting.
He can get big, but he needs to... He can't just get big. So, but if there's enough sand around, he could make another Sandman. Because he would be able to, like, make giant fists come out and punch you.
Right.
Whether it can talk or anything is another story, and maybe he can't make it look like his skin tones and his shirt and stuff. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure he can. But yeah, it would just be like an arena fight where he does, like, he pops up a bunch of them and you hit them, they break apart.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that level before. Yeah. It's just I wasn't sure if you make him sort of your Batman Arkham City Clayface, you can, like, maybe there's all these crimes happening and then you're fighting someone who can talk and who does look human, then all of a sudden, like, oh, it's just a sand copy or whatever. I couldn't recall if Sandman had like a hive mind of sand kind of thing.
No, it's just a single mind.
Or we don't know if they're gonna make brand new characters like Mr. Negative.
Yeah.
I thought actually Mr. Negative might have been. Was he in the comics or was he made up for
Actually,
this game?
I don't know. I think he may have been in the comics.
In the comic. Okay, yeah, I think you're right.
But who cares? Make up new shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see who they add, but I'm just excited for Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
Honestly, Venom, I think is a thing we've all seen coming, even though there's only been that one slight little tease at the end. We know Green Goblin's coming. Green Goblin is Spider-Man's Joker, essentially. Now, would you want to see him just be more Sam Raimi Green Goblin, or are you hoping, like, I want the big hulking, Incredible Hulk version of Green Goblin?
No, I don't want that. I want comic one where it's like more of a rubber mask. I don't necessarily need a high-tech thing.
Oh, you want him to look like an actual Goblin from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, with his purple hoodie and stuff. That's what I want. I don't know if it works for this game because everybody is a little kind of tech heavy. But let's go different with it.
But anyway, super excited for the game, but it's at least 2 years away, which sucks. Or a year and a half, maybe.
For Spider-Man fans, like at the end of this year, we get a Spider-Man movie. Next year, we get Spider-Verse 2. And then the year after that, this video game. So it's a good time to be a Spider-Man fan.
Has there ever been a bad time? Maybe in the 60s or whatever when they were doing that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some bad Spider-Man stuff out there, but, you know, Spider-Man's one of the greatest heroes, one of the greatest comic book characters ever. So there's always good Spider-Man stuff out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time in the 90s where there was a ton of comic books, and they got really weird and stupid. Yeah.
All right. So the last game we got to talk about is probably one of my favorite games of all time, and it's the fourth game in a series that I never played the original three. So
I have no idea what this is.
God of War.
Oh, God, yeah. I totally forgot. I was just so hyped to talk about Spider-Man. I forgot about God of War.
I mean, do you have anything else you want to say about Spider-Man, or are you good?
No, I'm good. Yeah,
okay.
I got it all.
Yeah, so, all right, so God of War Ragnarok is coming out. Now, my experience with the God of War franchise, I never played 1 through 3. I saw some friends play it. It seemed cool, but I think they were all PlayStation 3 games.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. And I never had a PlayStation 3. I went PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, then PlayStation 4. So it was just a franchise I happened to miss. And then this game came out, and the reviews said it's the greatest thing ever. And then I played it, and it was. It had God of War 2018 had everything I could have wanted in a game. Real interesting characters, great graphics, a lot of fun combat. I love mythology, so hearing all the Norse mythology with also the backstory of some of the Greek stuff, all very cool. The designs for the monsters are all very just awesome looking. I'm just glad I don't even have anything to say. I'm done. No, but it's the greatest. It's one of the greatest games I've ever played, and I have been waiting for this game since the minute I beat the first game.
Yeah, I think I borrowed it from you, but very impressed with the game. Took me a minute to get the combat down. It's just the older games were so button mashy.
Yeah.
Mash, mash, mash. Okay, hold this down, launch them in the air, mash, mash, mash. And this, you really have to time things just right. Otherwise, things don't land. So it was a little frustrating at first, but once I got into it, it was fantastic. I do think it's semi-open world stuff. I feel like I missed a bunch of that game. Like, I beat it, but I never beat any of the Valkyries. I think there was maybe one dragon I didn't set free. There's tons of, like, other worlds that are more challenge mode stuff, but I can never be quite sure. So I feel like the game was so big, and I probably played only about 40% of it.
I probably played 90% of it. The only thing I didn't do was beat the Valkyries because too hard. I don't care. And then they're like the Mist world. I think it's
that's like poisoning.
Poisoning,
you?
yeah.
Fuck that.
I tried that. That's okay. Like that's just for loot. I think essentially an experience. It's like, who cares? If there was some bigger story on it, maybe I would have cared more. But that stuff aside, the ability that I could play the main storyline, but then also go off and do these other things, all these other side missions. Like all the side missions I thought were fun, and I enjoyed exploring the world and seeing all the different places. It could have been really boring since you're essentially in one area. Like theoretically it should all look the same, but each place looks vastly different, and finding like a hidden pirate ship in the middle of this like underwater cave and stuff. Like there's some really cool stuff where you climb into the ice mountains. Like the game takes you a ton of amazing places, and traveling to different worlds, like the fairy world, which you what's that called? I really should have taken notes on these worlds. Who cares? The world with all the fairies. You hear fairy world, you think like, oh, who are these dorks gonna look like? And they're just like terrifying killer monsters. Like each world was different and interesting and cool, and the relationship with the father and son, just really great just storytelling.
Yeah.
Starting out just not getting along, just both in grief over the loss of your mother, his wife, and then just slowly watching that relationship build. And it was, I don't even know. I can't talk about this game enough. I don't even have fully formed thoughts. That's how much I love this game. The trailer opens with a fantastic shot. Kratos is chilling in a cave. A snowy day is happening in the background, and then you see this silhouette of this big horned person walking in, very reminiscent of Marvel's Loki, which I found out the horned helmet thing of Loki is just a Marvel thing. Like that's not anywhere in any real mythos of Loki.
Interesting.
But still cool. It turns out it's just his now slightly older son just carrying a deer on top of his head. Still like a great shot. And we see some gameplay from the game. You get a dog sled that helps you traverse the world, which I think is cool.
I'm so excited for the dog sled.
So I imagine those dogs are probably dead.
Why?
Not like zombies. I just mean I think there'll be a scene where he's riding and then they're crossing that frozen lake or whatever, and then something bursts in, and then those dogs just fall in and like, well, I guess I can't use that anymore.
No, I think that's just going to be when you're in, like, because in the first game you had like the big lake and all the little worlds were around it. I think it's going to be more like you have a big frozen lake, and that's instead of your rowboat, you're using that dog sled.
Right.
So I don't think they're going to die or anything like that. I think that'll just be one of those things. You get to the edge and he'll whistle and they'll come up and you hop on it and go to wherever you want and hop off. It'll just be how you traverse.
Right. I mean, I think that too. Games tend to give you something cute that you love and then kill it off. And, dogs in games don't last a lot of the time, especially in a game this brutal. But I mean, I hope they live. I don't want dead dogs, but I can just see them getting killed off. Anyway, so that's very cool. Freya is a hawk or an eagle and comes and attacks him while he's on his dog sled. Looks like it might be near the beginning of the game. She's still on her revenge mission. Fuck. Revenge mission for you killing her son Baldur at the end of the first game. Then we see Atreus is trying to figure out like what his role is in Ragnarok and how his mother knew all the stuff that was going to happen in the first game, which is actually one of my favorite things about the first game, is that golden shit laying around that was your guy, which you would just think is a video game mechanic, but really was like put there on purpose.
Yeah.
I fucking love that detail. Then we see Kratos going to some human towns, running into old characters. Mimir is still attached to your waist to give you sage Scottish advice. The dwarves, Sindri and Brock, are back to soup your weapons and armor up and offer some comic relief, I guess.
That was one thing about the first game that I hated, was just the armor system. And add 3 gems to this, and then they become a mega gem. Add 3 mega gems, it becomes a super mega gem. And I felt like just the stuff I was picking up in the game was better than anything I was able to create at any time. So I never made any armor. I picked up an armor, this is better than what I got. Cool, I'll put that on. Then I'll go to like upgrade stuff, and it's just like, oh, that's worse than what I have. So I never use those guys. Maybe upgrading weapons or something, but never for armor. And I wish they would get rid of that, because I don't want to be like, you gotta have your shin armor, and then can be different than your forearm armor and your back armor. It's like, just give me armor. That's one thing from the original games I missed the most. You had red orbs and green orbs, and red orbs were like experience points that you could spend on upgrading your weapons, and then your green orbs were like health, and that's it. And I don't like upgrading individual parts of my armor. I think that's incredibly terrible. And I know a lot of people like that specialized customization is like, oh, now my shins can, withstand frost, but my forearms are strong against fire, but now my back's weak against wind. It's just, I hate that shit so much. And I'm not looking forward to having to do it again.
Well, we don't know that's what you're going to do. It's probably going to be.
It's going to be worse.
Upgrading weapon and armor systems aren't my favorite thing in games, just because the less time I'm on a pause screen, the more I'm going to enjoy that game, because I just want to keep playing and keep going with the story. But at the same time, I didn't hate the weapons and armor system as much as other games.
Because it's so much of it is just like you get, and then you have to like scrap ones, and like you get the coins for it or anything. It's like, if you want head, chest, arms, torso, and legs, and it's just, what do you want to make stronger, and you pick between it, that's fine. But when it's like adding different gems that give you different attributes and stuff, and you could have different types of armor on it, it's just like, just let me level them up. If you want me to level them up individually, that's fine. But it's just so much micromanaging that makes most games so incredibly unfun.
Fair enough.
Don't like.
Well, we see they're on a mission to find Tyr, who is the Norse god of war, and who built the dwarves built the axe, right? It doesn't matter. But Tyr is a half giant who was mentioned a lot in the first game.
But we don't see him, right?
We do not see him. In the game, it's said that he's dead. And even in the trailer, they're like, oh, but Tyr's dead. But then we find later out in this trailer that he has, I guess, been in prison somewhere or been in hiding. And Kratos asks him, are you going to join us on our mission to stop Ragnarok? And then we also get a glimpse at a new character who, I don't know if you went online and looked at any of these people. His name's Durlin. He's the guy with the little squid monster, squid pet. There's some theories that he might be Odin in disguise, because that's what the monocle is, because Odin lost an eye. Because it has been, I think, confirmed that Odin will be... Well, actually, it's said that this is the final game in the Norse mythology.
I gotta stop you. Norse.
Norse?
Not Norris.
Sorry. Oh my
Norse.
God. It's an accent. Who cares? Norse.
But Norse is like a person's name.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Norse.
Yeah, so this is the final game in this
mythological
series.
Just 2 games, huh?
It's just 2, yeah.
Huh. Okay, that's fine.
But the other part I'm most excited about is, just like the predecessor, it's all going to be one continuous take.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't expect them to abandon that.
Which was
so successful.
Probably my favorite mechanic of that game.
Yeah, that was very cool.
So we're going to see Ragnarok play out, and we're going to learn more about Atreus/Loki and his role in all of it, and seeing how him and his love interest, who we get a sneak peek at the end, are the ones who make the world serpent and have the wolf who eats Odin, I think, in mythology. Like, how that and time travel is gonna play out, I don't know. It's gonna be, they're gonna do some weird magic stuff, but I can't wait to find out how it all plays out and what Kratos' role is in all of it.
Well, you forgot one other thing that we see.
Thor?
Yeah, big fat Thor.
Well, you don't really see him in the trailer,
no,
but they released an official image. Yeah. Do you like the look of this?
Yeah, Thor? It's different, and I think it fits this game better than if you had just another big buff dude. Have someone that's very different from Kratos.
Yeah, I like that the most feared god is, I mean, I guess aside from Odin, is this just big old fat person.
Yeah. I guess, like, Thor was more of like a party boy, big drinker, womanizer guy, so makes sense.
And I like that he's not blonde, too. Because I feel like that sort of look has gone... that's Marvel's thing. Marvel's just taken that. So blonde Thor is now just that. So and it's played by Ryan Hurst, who I don't know if you... He's the football player, the quarterback on Remember the Titans, and he was on Sons of Anarchy. He's got a very Viking look in real life.
Okay. I never saw either of those things.
But he's a good actor, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this game plays out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I wonder if they're ending this at 2, because after you beat the very first God of War, it talks about Kratos defeats Ares, he becomes the God of War, and all throughout time it is Kratos who's been fucking around with us and causing Vietnam and the war in Iraq, and it like shows the different wars of more modern times and stuff, because I don't think they really thought it was going to necessarily take off to be this huge franchise, but it's just like, yep, he's the God of War now, and yep, he caused all that.
Kratos calls Vietnam?
Yeah, pretty much.
I did not know that.
So it's just like awesome. That takes place after this, so I wonder, are they eventually...
I see that could be like a retcon now.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
Just seems so weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that, but at the same time, I think, especially now that he's become a father and a more loving, caring person, I mean, God of War is still the God of War, baby. I don't know, but...
Hey, they may kill him. They may kill his son, and maybe that's what causes Ragnarok,
Fair.
It's just like, God fucking damn it, you took my original family from me, I get a new family, you take them away from me, fuck this world, fuck the gods, I'm destroying it all.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's going to be my prediction.
As Atreus dies.
Yep.
And Kratos
Which would be kind of fucked up, but would you want them to go to another mythology? Maybe something more Middle Eastern or Indian, South American? Would you want them to continue with this, or Egyptian? There's lots of other gods out there. Would you want him to tackle something else?
I love the idea of just having a character who goes and just kills gods. I think the series does lend itself to having plenty to work with. And yeah, I would love for Kratos... What?
Kratos in Japan.
Yeah, like that's... Honestly, I think that's what I would want to see most, because Egypt's cool, but I think I've seen lots of Egyptian god stuff. I haven't seen any Japan god stuff. I mean, I know that there's plenty of animes and stuff, but like, we're not big anime guys. And I feel like there's lots of... Obviously, PlayStation, or Sony PlayStation is a Japanese corporation, right? Yes.
Yeah, Sony.
Yeah, and they've made plenty of Japanese games, but I think we've never seen this style of thing before.
I mean, maybe like, was that game Sekiro or whatever?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if that pulls from real stuff.
And there's that monkey game coming soon.
Oh, Wukong? That game was cool, too. Yeah. I could have talked about that game.
That just seems like God of War, but with a monkey man.
Yeah. But I don't know. If they went Egypt, I'd take Egypt. I'm not going to complain. If it stays like this version of the game, if they continued making the button mashing of 1 through 3, I don't know if I'd care that much. But after this series, I think they can only make this style of God of War game from here on out. If this ends the series, I wouldn't be upset, because if it tells a complete story of Kratos' journey, I'm good. I'd much rather have a series end on a high note than just continue to give me more mythologies. But I would be happy to keep playing this game if they have good stories to tell. But if, I don't know, whether Atreus or Kratos dies and the series continues with one of them, what's the story that propels it forward? Like, if Kratos' whole journey, and I think this game is like how to be a father and how to, raise this god and not be he doesn't want to be the murderer he's been for the past however long. So what's the evolution of this character when Ragnarok is over?
All right, 2 pitches. First,
all right, hit me.
He gets married and has another child, and they kill them, and he's just like, I guess third time's not the charm.
Unless, I have a pitch now. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. No, but then that's a joke.
Obviously.
This one's also kind of a joke. So, if I could just see him like, well, do we go to Japan? Do we go to India? We have all these different gods and stuff. And like, what if all the gods from all these different cultures, they get together and they're like, this motherfucker's going to come for us eventually. I think it's time that, all the gods from different cultures come together and they just like, okay, if we would be the final bosses of our own individual games, what if all these final bosses got together and really fucked up Kratos and take him out at once?
Mm.
Yeah. Just a joke. That's dumb. But you could have, like, there's Native American spirit stuff and, Central America. There's cool shit there.
Yeah, that's the thing about the human race over the past couple thousand years. We've developed some pretty neat mythologies.
Whatever that gives us answers to why does water fall from sky?
Did you know that wolves eat the moon? What?
We're on the back of a giant turtle. I mean, that one's true, so.
Yeah, let's see Kratos take on Discworld. Here's my pitch.
Okay.
Since there's rumors of some sort of time travel element, because obviously Atreus is a kid, but he's met his son, the World Serpent, that what if Kratos is kind of on this like weird time loop where he's Desmond in Lost. He's the constant, where he's this guy who is forced to go and like sort of relive a new tragedy to take out these gods. So he doesn't like, he is put on, and he was, I guess, created in Greece, killed them, and then he does Norse mythology, and so he takes on these, and then he dies, and then because at the end of the third game, I watched the final battle with Zeus. He gets stabbed and like dies, but then you see like a blood trail, and so like, okay, he lives or whatever. But like, what if he actually did die? And so maybe this is his version of hell, or maybe he's on a mission from some ultimate god or something, where like every place he goes, he has something to fight for that gets taken away, and then his sole mission is to kill everything, because maybe he needs to kill all the gods on Earth to unleash the devil or something like that, because there's only one true God.
The Judeo-Christian God. Praise be Jesus.
It seems like a lot to go through, but that's my pitch on how you continue the series, is that there is infinite Kratoses who all think that they're not necessarily infinite, but there's some sort of time displacement thing where Kratos is just constantly having to kill gods of the world to do something.
Cool. I'll take it.
That's my pitch.
All right.
And that's how you continue the series. But I don't know if you're trying to make everything canon and he remembers everything, then I don't know, because obviously he remembers all the Greece stuff. And why does he keep fighting if everything he loves just keeps getting taken away?
Yeah, and you don't have to really stretch him out too. It's like you make one game in Japan, you make one game in India, you make one game in for different gods, and don't go like, well, we need to have a trilogy of the Japan saga, and then we need a trilogy of this. Yeah, just standalone games, Kratos killing gods.
So your pick is for what that you would like to see him do next?
I think India would be fun. I don't know a lot of like Indian gods and stuff, but I don't know a lot of their mythology and religious beliefs, but I feel like the aesthetic would make some cool creatures.
Yeah, I think you for me, it's how do you make it look different? And so we've had two European mythologies, so going somewhere east, I think, would be the next step. Egypt is cool because you typically go like a desert route, like nothing looks like that, and you can probably do some cool stuff with the pyramids.
I mean, there are some like desert levels in the old God of War games, but
okay. And then I think the only thing that's really holding it back from going to Japan is how big Ghost of Tsushima was, and there would be, obviously there's going to be sequels to that game, I would think.
Sure, but that's grounded in reality.
Right, but it's just, you'd still be going to these I think you could come up with cool creatures, and I think it'd visually be interesting from buildings and stuff, but you're also gonna have 2 games where it's like, oh, here comes cherry blossoms, leaves falling. Like, would you do these sort of Akira Kurosawa style stuff, but with Kratos? I don't know. I just think I'd like to see their gods explored, even if I've seen sort of the Japanese lands a bunch of times in kung fu movies.
Well, you save that for the
anime.
third one. Like, you do Egypt first, because like he leaves Europe and he goes down to Egypt, and then he goes over to India, and then he goes to Japan, and then it ends with him getting into the Pacific Ocean like, I'm coming for you, America, and I'm taking down your god.
I saw someone online talk about Aztec gods or Mayan gods. I think that'd be cool. It's like, I'd like to see that, because I don't know shit about Mayan gods either.
Yeah. So yeah, he leaves Japan, and then he like goes to Australia just for vacation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he goes to South America and works his way up to North America.
I'd like to see, or you know what, maybe if you just do one more series, whatever it is, and then at the final game, you have sort of a flash cut like he did with the Vietnam stuff, but it's just, instead of doing a bunch of games where you just see him do like a quick little minute scene here, minute scene here, where you just see him killing some god, or, you know, it might be kind of fun to see, you know, Jesus carrying the cross, and then he picks it up and just like throws it or something like that, and so he's he actually saves Jesus. So Christianity is never actually invented.
Okay,
that could be funny.
Or I can see like they're whipping Jesus, and he's just like, "No, this is how you do it," and he pulls out his chains, and it just cuts Jesus' arms off, and like, ooh, whoopsie. But the bad thing about like Christianity is there's not a bunch of like cool monsters and stuff, and like, oh, we got Goliath. What are you gonna fight? Moses in his ark? His like ark is a transformer or something that you have to fight. You know, and then you have I'm sorry. Yeah, and then Moses has his 10 commandments, and so he has like a moveset of like 10 different things he could do, and so like, you know, he breaks.
No, I think the game would open, and then you see like there's waves and like heavy rain, and it just seems like, oh, like I'm on the ocean, like where we at? And then you see a boat come into view, and then it's just like, oh, it's this huge massive boat, and then you see, oh, it's Noah's Ark, and then Noah's out on the dock, like, you know, oh, I'm the last human, and then like what you see off in the distance, just a little rowboat coming towards me. It's like, what the fuck is that? And then Kratos comes on board. It's like there's a hood, and this is the trailer for it right here, and then he like pulls down the hood, and then it's Kratos, and you're like, oh, but Kratos is still alive even after like God flooded the earth, and then the water goes away, and Kratos is one of the people who's like, all right, time to get to work. And then it's like, because God flooded the earth, Kratos is on a mission to kill God. And that's how, that's the teaser right there, baby.
Okay. He's like, yeah, you had a good idea with flooding the earth and getting rid of everything, but then the waters receded, and life still happened. No, we're killing everyone. I'm Kratos, and no one gets to live.
And that's how the first mission starts, is like you're on that boat, and then Kratos becomes attached to some animal. Maybe it's a mythological animal, and he gets like the last 2, but like they get killed, and that's why that creature's not existing anymore. But he's just
he has to eat the 2 last unicorns and get their unicorn power.
So I don't know. There's plenty of potential, but if this is the final God of War game, as long as it's just as good as the first one, I'd be happy if this is the end of the series, because I don't think anyone really expected the series to continue after the last one, really, right?
Yeah, I think after 3, there were some offshoots like Chains of Olympus and stuff like that, but they weren't well received. So it was just kind of like, well, the game's done, and then they're just pushing out this bullshit or whatever. I don't think anybody expected it to come back as big and as amazing as it has.
Yeah. So that's the games I'm excited for and want to talk to you about.
Now, here's the next problem. Got to get a PS5 for most of these.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're still... Which, it's bullshit. We're almost at 1 year after release of the PS5, and you still can't get them. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Unless you buy them from a scalper for like $1,000, which no one should ever do. Don't do that. No.
$300 is the max for any video game system, I think. But I'm sure they're,
they're 500, I think. Well, I think there's one version that's 5 and another version that's 6. I think maybe it's the one with the disc
Yeah, the one with the disc is more.
Yeah, and then the one that just does digital is just right there.
I would never not get a disc.
No, get the disc, like, maybe you need the collector's
getting this computer and like looking at all the laptops and stuff. And you can't put a disc in any laptop anymore. It's bullshit. What if I just want to play a goddamn DVD? I'm not trying to burn CDs or anything.
And I can totally see that just being gone. Like, why have games if you have infinite storage on a system? But there's something about having a physical thing, and then also it's like, oh, if something happens to the system or the world crashes, I know I can still play this this physical copy. But if my entire, or something happens where some glitch and the system thinks that I did something illegal online even though I didn't, just, oh, we blocked your account, now you can play it. And it's like, well, that's not true. And now I have to like call these people and be like, I don't know what information you got, but you guys blocked my account, now I can't play any of my games. It's BS.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Shit, we're at an hour 30 and we still got a lot to talk about.
Well, let's get to it.
All right. Well, I watched a movie called Malignant, the new James Wan horror movie that was a dual released in theaters and on HBO Max. I was very excited for this because he's really started multiple franchises. Like, he helped create Saw. He created Conjuring. He did Insidious. He made a pretty damn fun Aquaman movie. And so this was him kind of going back to his horror roots, and I was very, very excited. But sad to say, this movie is trash. And unfortunately, I feel like I'm the only one. I don't know if it's everybody just like sucking his dick and just wanting to be on the bandwagon of look how fun and crazy this is, but it's just not a good movie. So you don't like horror movies.
I do not. I do like his movies, weirdly. I like the first Saw, and I remember for the most part liking the second one, although I don't really remember much other than like falling in the needles bit and stuff.
That's the big thing.
And then the twist at the end. Like, I remember parts of it. But I think the first Saw movie is a pretty great debut for a horror director. And then I love what's it called? The Other, where they go in Insidious, or their version of the Upside Down, whatever it's called. The In-Between, I don't know.
Something.
But I like the stuff in Insidious. I think that's really cool. And the first Conjuring, I thought was scary as fuck. Like, I really dug that version. Conjuring 2 was okay. Yeah. And then Conjuring 3 I didn't like.
No.
But the rest of the horror movies, other than Hereditary, are garbage.
I just don't think you've watched enough, and I really wish you would have watched this because, well, and maybe I'm glad you didn't watch this because you'd go like, see, this is what horror movies are, and maybe this is what it's like to watch a horror movie through your eyes, because this movie is just stupid. It really changes every act. Like, in the beginning, it was legitimately spooky, and I was really intrigued, and I could actually feel my heart rate rising at parts. And then once you get to the second act, you notice some of the acting choices and some of the camera work is a little like too slick and too stylish. Just like, camera inside a dryer as someone's taking out their clothes, and just like, I don't even know who to compare it to, but it's just a little much for a horror film. And then when the third act comes, it just goes off the wall bonkers. So, yeah, I'm going to spoil this movie.
I want to know everything.
Okay, we're going to start at the beginning. So we start in some sort of hospital. There's a doctor giving a testimony to a camera, and they come in and they're like, "Oh, the patient's gone crazy. We got to stop him." And they're running down the hall, and people are getting thrown out of doors, and like, "We tried to use the electroshock therapy and it didn't work. It was almost like he was absorbing all the electricity." And like, "Oh no." And they go into the room, and you see something behind a curtain, and it just looks like a crazy monstrous. And there's dead bodies everywhere, and they're just like, "It's time. We're gonna cut out the cancer." And then cut to modern day. We have our lead, Madison, played by Annabelle Wallis from The Mummy. I will get to her in a minute.
Tom Cruise, the mummy. Not,
Tom Cruise, the mummy.
Not
yes.
the Brendan Fraser mummy.
No. So she is getting home from work. She's a nurse or something. And she's she's wearing this scrub type outfit. And she's a couple months pregnant. And her lazy husband's just watching TV. And she's in a lot of pain. He's just like, well, maybe you shouldn't work so hard. You are pregnant. And this is the third time we've tried to get pregnant in 2 years. And my babies keep dying inside of you. And he goes from like kind of caring to super stereotype shitty abuser husband. And so he palms her face and just like slams her against the wall, and it was really shocking because she hits it real hard and smashes her head and she's bleeding, and he does that thing of, oh, I'm sorry, let me go get you some ice, and she locks him out.
Well, as long as he said he's sorry.
Yeah, that's all that matters. But the way he goes from like 0 to 60 is just like so common. Well, maybe you shouldn't work so much. You are pregnant and we've done this a lot and you keep killing my babies. He's just extreme. It was hilarious. So she locks him out and he's sleeping on the couch and he starts hearing noises. Like the blender just turns on all of a sudden. He goes into the kitchen, turns it off, and then the fridge opens up and just kind of like, Madison, are you there? What's going on? And then then he's just like standing in a doorway, and all of a sudden like some black figure just like smashes against him. It looks almost like he gets stabbed in the side of the head, but that's not what happens. Madison wakes up the next morning, goes downstairs, and finds like his head's been like knocked completely off. Oh. His body's just on the ground and his head's completely cracked. Call the cops. Cops come and they're just kind of like, woo, I've never seen anything like this before. And when they do tests, they're like, it's crazy. There's an imprint of a hand against the side of his head, but the hand is like upside down. So the person would have had to have been like hanging from the ceiling. Like, well, that's weird. And so of course they think it's her, just because that's your obvious subject. It's like your husband abused you. Of course, you got mad and you killed him.
Yeah.
But after she saw the body, she like runs away. You see this black figure like chasing after her and like pushing on the door as she's trying to keep it out.
And this is the same monster-looking black figure?
Yes.
Or is just... Okay.
It's almost kind of looks like, those like morph suits? It's like, Green Man from...
Yeah.
But like black, but
right.
with hair. So it's like you can't really see what's going on. It's just kind of a dark figure.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, the cops are just kind of like unsure of what's going on. Madison's sister, Sydney, shows up and... she wakes up in the hospital and she's like, oh, I've been out for a few days. What happened? She's like, sorry, your husband's dead. And she's like, oh, well, as long as my baby's okay. And like, nah, you lost another one. Like, fuck. So she's all sad and she tells her sister, like, I think there's something after me. There's something in the house. And I have to let you know, like, I'm adopted. We're not real sisters. Mom and Dad just never wanted to tell you. So then what happens? Oh yeah, so then she goes back home. It's been a couple of weeks and it's like, I'll be fine and everything. And she starts having a vision of this woman being attacked by this crazy long-haired, trench-coated figure. Like her whole room morphs into this other woman's house and she sees her get gets beat with a statue. Well, it turns out this was the doctor from the beginning. Oh no! So they find her dead body, and they can't find the statue. Then Madison goes to the cops, and is like, I had a vision of the monster thing. I know it. And they're like, you're crazy. And the sister's like, well, maybe they have a psychic connection. When he attacked her, they bonded or whatever. And they're just like, okay, you're just a crazy lady. And they go through the doctor's notes, and they find that Madison was a patient of this doctor. And Madison doesn't remember any of this. She only kind of remembers early days of being with her foster parents and not the 8 years before that. So then she has another memory or another vision of someone else getting killed. And she goes to the cops and just like, look, it happened again. I don't know who this guy is, but I know where it's at because she was able to see like a neon sign out the window. and like, go check. And if he's dead, you know I'm not crazy. And they're like, okay, whatever. Well, it turns out this other guy was also one of the doctors that worked in that opening scene. And they're like, oh, well, how could she have known? Like, well, she probably knew because she's the killer. She's just a crazy person and stuff. And then we see some woman is giving a tour of like the sunken parts of old Seattle, and she gets abducted by the monster thing. I'm just going to call it the monster thing. Actually, it has a name. What is it? Oh, Damien. Damien? Is it Damien or is it...
What do we call this demon thing? Damien.
Yeah. What is his name? Gabriel. Gabriel. Okay.
She calls the shadow monster Gabriel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so after so this random woman gets abducted, and Madison has had issues, like she's like looking out the window and all of a sudden all the lights are flickering. This monster person seems to have powers over electricity in a way. She's looking out at the street light and it like flickers off, and then you just see this dark figure in the fog, and then the light comes on and it's not there. So after she talks to the cops, she actually gets a phone call. This monster thing talks to her while she's in the bathroom and it's like, you're not Madison, you're like Anime or something like that. Not
Anime?
Anna May. Like her last name's May, but it's whatever her name is. It's unimportant. And she's just like, don't call me that, Gabriel. And it's like, and then he's laughing on the phone like, ha ha ha, you do remember me. And so she like asks her mom, like, what's going on? Who's Gabriel? And the mom's all shocked, like, I haven't heard that name in forever. So they're watching old tapes of like her 8th birthday or 9th birthday or whatever. And she's blowing out the candles, and then she'll just turn to her side and just be like, no, don't say that, Gabriel. I'm like, Gabriel? Who's that? Oh, it's no one. And she starts remembering times where she would be talking to Gabriel, like on a little toy phone, and it's just like, oh, I made you a cake. Why don't you go in the kitchen and eat it? And like, okay. So she goes and like grabs a knife and she goes to cut the cake, but then realizes she's standing over her mom, like gonna cut into her pregnant belly. And then like Gabriel's just like wanting to kill this, her sister that's gonna come. So let's see. I think there's a third person killed. Oh yeah, there is a third person, and while she's like having the vision, the cop is investigating, and so she sees him fighting with, the monster. And she's just like, Officer Dunbar, or whatever the fuck his name is. No, he has a weird name too.
Gloopity Glop.
Kakoa Shaw. Yeah.
Officer Kakoa Shaw?
Yeah. Kekoa Shaw. Kakoa Shaw. Officer Shaw, run! And so he's like chasing down this thing, and it's all like running weird and like doing flips and flying down a fire escape and just like moving completely inhuman and bizarre. Chases it through buildings and in basements and into a place that has these like old-timey carriages or whatever.
And this is the first time he's seeing this thing?
Yes, the cop is. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like if I saw anything like that, the last thing I would do would be chasing it down.
Yeah. You know this is the killer, so...
I guess, yeah.
Oh, and he's... That statue that he killed the first doctor with, it was like kind of like a spear point with snakes around it. It was like a doctor's award or whatever. Yeah. So he's like broken off some of the parts, and now it's like a knifey thing.
Cool.
So yeah, he chases them, but, they have a little bit of a fight. Loses Gabriel, the monster man. And the woman who he took, this random woman, she's in like an attic somewhere, and she's tied up, and Gabriel's just like, ooh, I have plans for you, but not until I get everybody first. Blah.
I wish for one time that there would be a monster in a movie that doesn't sound like that. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna come kill you.
Yeah. But no, they gotta be
so
spooky
typical.
And he kind of looks like a bagul. Oh yeah, she sees his face and he's all like fucked up, like just got hit by a truck, like his eyes kind of lower and mouth's all fucked up, and usually has like long black hair.
Picasso of a human being.
Yeah, pretty much. But has like hair dripping down mostly. And it's able to do these crazy kicks and flips and crawl up the wall and out the window and whatever. So they are back at Madison's house with Madison, her sister, and the 2 cops. And they're just kind of like, you know, we don't know what's going on. Oh, look, we're going to do hypnotism stuff, you know. So they do a little hypnotism thing.
Classic horror movie trope.
Yeah. And I think that's where we get a little more of the backstory and of her like cutting into her mom's belly or attempting to. And then all of a sudden, so the woman that was tied up in an attic, she breaks free and falls through the floor, and she was in Madison's attic the whole time. And they're just like, whoa, who the fuck is this Jane Doe lady? And like, that's crazy. They go up there, they find the weapon, they find the trench coat of the monster thing, and they're like, okay, Madison's just a crazy person, and she caused all this. And they take her away. So then her sister Sydney is just like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of it, and of course like goes to this old abandoned sanitarium where all the records are still there and finds all these like VHS tapes, brings them back to her mom.
What are horror movies gonna do when like VHS tapes don't make sense to exist anymore? Like it's just all just gonna be like, oh, I found a digital file.
Yeah, it's just a flash drive. Yep. Just like, you know,
VHS tapes just look cooler.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna have 4K resolution of like this terrifying incident. It's like no, it's like it's cool on VHS because it looks like shit.
And you got to go to the library and go on microfiche and look at the old newspaper clippings. Now everybody just Googles. Yeah, it's not as fun. Her sister and her mom are watching these tapes, and it turns out this Jane Doe that fell from the attic is actually Maddie's mom. They all thought she died and gave Maddie up because she was like raped at 14, 15 years old, but her mom wouldn't let her abort it, so she was giving this child up for adoption. And there were issues, like she had behavioral issues even at an early age, and the birth mom is just kind of like, I don't want anything to do with her. She's the devil, you know. So Sydney and her mom are watching these tapes. They're, you know, she's doing her whole like talking to Gabriel thing, and they're like, well, like, here's the reveal. Why don't you take the camera and take it around back? And you do, and there's like a parasitic twin on her back, and it's got these tiny little arms, and the face is on the back of her head, and it's all just like little T-Rex arms and stuff, and it is causing her to do really violent things. So they realize, we're going to cut out the cancer. So they like cut off all the limbs, the body that's on her back and stuff, and they can't really cut off the head because they're like attached to the same brain. So they crack open her skull, open it up, and push it in and sew her back up. So it turns out when her husband slammed her against the wall and bashed her head, it awakened Gabriel. And Gabriel is now taking Madison and turning her into a killer, and actually like cracking her bones so her arms and stuff face the other way. That's why when she's running and stuff, it's all like really weird because the knees and elbows are all backwards. And like why the handprint on the side of her husband's head was upside down, because like when it's backwards like this, you know, your hands are like that. And so it's just been Madison this whole time. When she's having these visions, that's just Gabriel like fucking with her brain and making her think she's seeing it when she's actually doing these things. And so Gabriel wanted to kill all these doctors that cut him out, and then was going to kill the birth mom for giving them up in the first place. And she's like, when Madison's in prison, she's in a holding cell, and Zoe Bell's one of the weird ladies in there, and they're all like picking on her, but then all of a sudden she like cracks and starts killing all of them, and then she's doing like Matrix style kung fu in this police station, just flipping people around. It's absolutely ridiculous.
There's no reason for her to be super strong.
No, it's just he has like
control over her body. Exactly.
And also it's like, how does he control the lights? Because that wasn't a thing in her head. She was in the interrogation room with the cops, and the lights are flickering, and is able to call on her phone and talk to the cops. They don't explain how he has the power to do that, except at the very beginning when they said he's absorbing all the electricity from the electroshock. And it's like, but that gives you powers like that? It doesn't make any sense. So eventually, Gabriel is trying to get to his birth mom to kill her because she's in the hospital. So then they have like a little mind battle, and Madison is just like, you're not in control anymore. I am. And if we have to live together, then I'm putting you in this cage. And so he's just like in a little mental cage and just like, you'll let me free one of these days, Madison. And then she just kind of like helps her sister up and it's just like, everything's going to be A-okay. And then it's done. It's like, you just killed like 15 cops. You're going to jail. It doesn't matter if you have some weird parasite or not. You're guilty of all this. And it's like they did a hand puppet for Gabriel in the back of her head because it's like it's just a little rubber face like and it's so goofy, and it's like I almost love the movie because it does these really crazy ideas, but it's so poorly executed. And this actress, Amanda Wallace, Annabelle Wallace. She may be one of the worst actresses I've ever seen. She is, I mean, she was never good in Mummy, but she is so bad in this. It's like soap opera level acting, and everybody's a little kind of like tongue-in-cheek, but she's trying to just like give it her all, and it's not convincing. She's an absolute shame, and James Wan is better than this. And I guess I'm alone, because Twitter seems to love this movie and think it's like, what a freshing gonzo, what a fun movie. But the idea of a parasitic twin that's making you kill people, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, I like that idea.
That's cool. But like making you break your bones and turn them backwards so he can do it, like why can't he just control her from the back there? And why is she doing...
Because then it wouldn't be as scary.
But why is she doing Matrix Kung Fu flips? Like she's literally like doing backflips and wall kicks and running up walls and stuff like that. It's insane.
Yeah, if you tried to explain, you do some science mumbo jumbo where it's like one of the twin takes control, you didn't realize you had the strength of two people. Well, I could like maybe it doesn't make sense regardless.
They kind of address that. Like after she puts Gabriel in the mind prison, her sister's like trapped under a hospital bed, and she's just like, "Oh, let me try to move it." And like, "No, you can't. It's too heavy." And it's like Gabriel flipped it on her, and just like, "Well, if Gabriel can do it, I can do it because it was my body the whole time." And then lifts the bed off of her. So it's like, okay, yeah, I guess she had the strength in her the whole time or something. But she's really doing stuff you could not do, backwards man or not.
My bigger issue is that it's twisting and breaking her bones and just snapping them back into place.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, maybe they're not breaking, they're like dislocating so they can bend in a different way, but the whole time it's like...
Yeah, I don't.
And then, but
and then after that,
and then when she puts him in the mind prison, you see the back of her head, and it's like the face is like going back in, and the skull closes, and then you see her like click, 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 and go back to normal. And it's kind of funny because she has like a trench coat on backwards because the face was facing out, so she just has this big collar. You really should watch like the last 25 minutes from the reveal of it on the little girl's back. I was dying because these tiny little arms that are just wiggling on her. It's so funny, but it's not scary. It's just really stupid, and I can't recommend it unless you're watching it just to laugh at it, because this isn't a brilliant new cult classic. I mean, it's a cult classic in the sense of like it's so bad I can't believe they would make something like that. But I guess when you're James Wan and your Aquaman movie makes $1 billion, they kind of let you do whatever you want.
Yeah, but to do whatever you want, usually for a director, it's like, okay, I do this for you, then I do my own thing, and so I make Inception, not some shitty horror movie. This is something he wanted, and it was like written by him and another actor that's in the movie. I didn't mention it's like a crime scene tech that is flirting with the cop the whole time. But yeah, she was in Annabelle Creation. I guess they wrote it together. And it's shit. It would make a fun, like, 30-minute Tales from the Crypt episode. Okay, yeah. But not a full movie. Well, it seems like it could have been an episode of The X-Files. You know?
Absolutely. That would totally work. But, yeah, it's not good. And
And that's another one of my problems with horror movies. It's like there's so many horror movies that have such cool ideas and just execute them so poorly.
Yeah.
And then when you see that movie, it's like, oh, that's a shame, because it feels like now other horror movies can't do that because you've already done it, but you've done it so poorly. It's like, I don't know. It's a bummer.
So are you kind of interested in it now?
I think next time I'm at your place, or maybe one of these days after.
I don't know when that will ever be. Our schedules never sync up except for these few hours to record this thing. Hey, you got HBO.
I know.
You can watch it at any time. No, I don't want that on my algorithm.
It's possible. I'm not rushing to see it, though.
Okay.
I'm glad I didn't watch it, because I think I would not have enjoyed it just from this description.
No, you would not.
But it sounds fun.
Yeah, watch it with people. I wish I did, because I was just baffled the whole time.
I did. The most fun I have watching horror movies is with you, because even if it sucks, we can make fun of it.
True. But usually, if I make you watch a horror movie, it's because I know it's bad. It's a crazy shark attack movie. It's something really stupid that we know we don't have to pay attention to. I
don't know if I've ever seen a good, like, one that I would say that I really like horror movie with you. I feel like all the horror movies I've seen that I've liked has been by myself. Mm-hmm. Like, we've tried movies like the Empty Man. We thought, we heard good things, and like
it was fine.
It was fine. Like, it wasn't as scary as I hoped it would be, but it wasn't as bad as we could have made fun of it.
Yeah,
but
it's
it
wasn't so bad it's good, but it's not so good it's great.
Yeah. That's another movie that had cool ideas in it.
Yeah.
That
I think the last. It's not even a horror movie, but The Invisible Man was one of the last movies I saw in theater before the pandemic. We saw that together for my birthday.
You liked that more than I did, but there's stuff that I thought was cool. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I thought the movie was underwhelming.
Well, yeah, whenever we're together and we're going to watch a movie, we generally try to watch something we both haven't seen because, okay, I know the last horror movie we saw that you liked, Demon Knight. With Billy Zane and Jada Pinkett, the Tales from the Crypt movie. Yeah, you liked that movie.
That was fun, yeah.
But yeah, we usually watch something new. And if it's new to both of us and a horror movie, you generally shoot it down. So we try to find something that's a little more common ground.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Before we get to our next topic, we have a sponsor.
Oh, cool.
Ben, you like comedy, right?
I do like comedy.
And you would say comedy is an art form, correct?
For sure.
Well, then you will love this combination of comedy and art, or should I say comedy and fart. It's just for you. Today's episode is sponsored by Artsy Fartsy, whoopee cushions designed with your favorite pieces of classic art. Select from a wide variety of artworks from any of your favorite artists. Is that the sound of Salvador Dali's melting clocks? No. That's the sound of our patented fart-creating technology designed to give you the highest sound quality of flatulence you would think. It was designed by Da Vinci himself. Trick your friends and family into thinking someone needs to Van Gogh to the bathroom when your starry night becomes a gassy one. The laughs never stop when your coworkers think your boss made a Jackson Pollock in their pants during that boring sales meeting. Oh no, is that a turtle head popping out? Nope, that's just your favorite Renaissance painters, Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael creating the fine art of comedy during that stuffy wedding ceremony. Edvard Munch would scream to get his hands on these amazing pieces of comedy art. After you're done making everyone laugh, each whoopee cushion comes in a carrying case designed to look like a frame so you can decorate your home with these classic art pieces. Make the girl with a pearl earring and Mona Lisa smile with these perfect gifts for any occasion. Go to the website and use offer code WRPL to get 10% off your first order today.
We have another movie before we get to our main topic. Oh my god. The Voyeurs.
The Voyeurs. Yeah.
We don't have to talk much about The Voyeurs.
No. I mean, we probably could.
Probably. Happy birthday, Sydney Sweeney. It happens to be your birthday the day we're recording this, and I watched your interesting, fun, stupid, trashy, but entertaining movie.
Yeah, I watched this movie not expecting to like it. Just because nothing about the story or the trailer really did anything for me, but it turns out that I was pleasantly surprised. I wouldn't say that I liked this movie, but I would say that I enjoyed it more than I was expecting to.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's a good movie. I think it is an episode of The Real World or Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Just like a dumb, mindless thing to go like, oh, that was kind of... It gave me a little bit of something, and I'll never think of it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, this movie really is... You're either someone who likes that, like, Lifetime movies.
Yeah.
This is definitely a little raunchier than anything that would be on there.
This feels like a fanfic, not necessarily a fanfic, but something, I guess it would be. Well, fanfic is more of a pre-established franchise that you're making your own fiction. But I guess...
but you, I mean...
What am I looking for? Like, this is a blog post someone wrote. It's like, oh, this is my fantasy novel that they put online and someone turned into a movie. This is 50 Shades of Grey-esque.
Yeah, this is
slightly better.
This is a 50-year-old woman who's loved Lifetime movies and stuff like that. Saw 50 Shades of Grey, learned that it was based on like a fan fiction, started reading her own, and then said, I could probably turn one of those Lifetime movies into like a trashy, sexy, trashy movie.
That's exactly what I said.
But I said it with more words.
Yes.
Basically, a couple, Justice Smith and Sydney Sweeney, buy a loft apartment, and they're moving in together. She's an optometrist. He makes music for like sex pill commercials, and they notice across the way in this very swanky home these two beautiful people just going at it, and they're like, "Oh, we probably shouldn't do that." But then she starts getting obsessed with watching them. They figure out a way to listen in on them, and she starts really kind of wanting to bang this dude because of his crazy hot bod and probably magnificent dong. This guy's like cheating on his wife.
Yeah, so she's questioning whether they should say something because she's like, oh... this doesn't feel right, like this guy's a piece of shit, he's constantly cheating on his wife with these models, and her husband, or not, her boyfriend, because they're not married, her boyfriend's like, this is none of your business, we really shouldn't be watching this, let's not do this anymore. And she's like, I'm just gonna tell him, and then he's like, don't tell them anything. And she runs into her at one point.
Yeah, she comes into her, she works for an optometrist, she's an ophthalmologist. Is that the word?
She works with eyes.
She's an eye doctor.
Yeah.
And she gets you glasses. And the woman, the wife from across the street, comes in to get new glasses, and they kind of hit it off and start becoming friends. And she's torn because she really wants to tell this woman, like, your husband's a piece of shit, but how do you tell that without saying, we've been watching you this whole time and being absolute creeps? And the way you do that is you say, I know this is going to sound weird, but I live across the street from you, and I saw your husband cheating on you, and we've been a bunch of creeps.
Yeah.
And then close your blinds.
Yeah, your blinds were open. I didn't mean to look. I saw it. I'm sorry. Yeah. You could have easily lied. But then she did this thing to reveal to the wife what was going on, which was, I'm going to send, because everyone's on the same printer Wi-Fi network.
Well, she mentions on their friendship, their little friend date thing, of like, oh, I have this wireless printer that it took me some time to set up. So she knows she has a wireless printer, and she tries to connect to it. She tries a couple different printers, and then finds theirs.
Oh, I must have missed that dialogue. Yeah. But okay, that makes sense. Which I thought was like kind of a cool way to do that.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
So yes, so now the wife finds out, and then I actually like this scene where she grabs a knife and like it looks like she's about to do it, and then she like stops, and I don't know, I just thought that whole scene worked really well. Yeah. And then you see she doesn't go through it. She goes to the bathroom and cries. Sydney Sweeney's character is like, okay, well, that's over now. She knows, and everything can...
We're done. I'm not going to watch anymore.
Yeah, we're all done. And then the next morning, they look over, and she's covered in blood, and she has killed herself.
Yeah. And so Justice Smith is just kind of like, wow, you did this. You suck.
You murdered
her. I don't want to see you anymore. We're done. And leaves. So Sydney Sweeney's all broken up. And doesn't she have a weird... Oh, yeah, her name's Pippa. It's
Pippa,
really cute. I like that name. It'd be a good name for a cat.
Or a pig.
Well, I mean, you got Peppa Pig.
That's Peppa Pig, yeah. Never mind.
So she is completely heartbroken. She sees that the dude across the way is just heartbroken as well. And he goes into a bar, so she decides to follow him in, catches his eye. He comes over and hits on her, and they have some nice little banter. And, of course, he asks her to come upstairs and have her picture taken because he is a photographer.
And of course, she knows how the whole rigmarole goes. It's like, oh, play coy, and then he's gonna like take his shirt off to make her more comfortable, but then he gets butt naked and now she's naked. And then of course it's like, all right, well, game time. They have sex with each other. Justice Smith's character comes back, sees them, then she leaves, goes back to her apartment, and then finds him that he's hung himself.
Yeah, I was so shocked when that happened. When it panned up and it was just his feet. Excellent shot. Didn't see it coming. I had a feeling this movie was going to take a turn. And I had a feeling she was going to go over and sleep with that guy. So, yeah, she's heartbroken. Her boyfriend has killed himself and has the funeral and is just kind of going through the motions. And...
Well, I'm sorry. Before they have sex, he mentions that he has an art thing opening in like 2 weeks and that she should come.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, cool. And then,
So she convinces, she talks to her friend is kind of shitty. You know, she's like, spills her whole guts about everything that happens. And her friend's just kind of like, it's fine. It's okay that he killed himself.
I killed that woman. I killed my boyfriend.
Things happen.
It was an accident. You didn't mean to do it, girl.
Yeah, so bad influence.
Shots.
So she convinces her to go to the opening of this dude's show. And the guy is introducing himself and just saying, oh, what a hard time he's been going through. But he couldn't have done it without his wife. And out walks his not dead wife.
Twist. Did you see this coming?
No. Well, I had a feeling the show was going to be about her. That wasn't too surprising. I did not see that the wife was still alive. So they reveal the first photo, and it's one of the nude photos he took of her. And they start telling a story of how, you know, this is kind of a social experiment where they kind of let people into their lives and they start watching back, and they kind of go through the movie of how their apprehension of watching and then their obsession and how they snuck in one night during a Halloween party, and it was all part of their plan. And even they show that Justice Smith had hung himself and caught her reaction of catching him, and she gets all upset and runs out of there. And the two artists kind of become big names and are trying to justify, like, we didn't kill this guy, you know, we gave them an opportunity to be a part of something and they took it their way. They could have talked to us about, you know, closing our blinds or been honest and not snuck in and not come over to sleep with me and stuff.
Yeah, I think the movie tried to justify, like, they're allowed to be well, not necessarily allowed, because obviously there was like some backlash within the art community, I guess, but it's their whole, I feel like, justification. I was like, well, we're not the bad guys here because they broke into our apartment to listen to us. Like, that was the thing that sort of like got them out of it, even though like that's real weak evidence, in my opinion. But
then go back to their place. Someone left them a gift of wine. They drink it, and they get another printout saying, like, my boyfriend didn't kill himself, you killed him. And they're just kind of like, oh, there she is on the roof. And they chase her down and chase her through the city. They end up at her work, and she says, I don't think he killed himself. He would have never done that. I think you poisoned him and hung him. And the evidence she has of this is he's been drinking this charcoal water through the whole thing, and right before he caught his girlfriend sleeping with the neighbor, he was drinking it, and then he didn't like it, so he poured it into this bird feeder that
she got
as a gift from her boss. So she found that the birds who were drinking from it were dying and like piling up on a little ledge underneath. So she figured they drugged him, they hung him to kind of fake this drama. So they're like, you ain't got no evidence, fuck you, what are you going to do about it? But it turns out she was the one that gave them the wine, drugged them, and sets them up for a little eye surgery, and burns the shit out of their eyes and blinds them. And then it ends with them just kind of looking out a window being like, oh no, we're blind! And Sydney Sweeney putting down the binoculars and going like, yeah, I did that.
I'm Batman.
Mm-hmm. So the eye stuff I did kind of see coming. Like, I knew the bottle of wine was from her, and I thought it was just going to be poison and they would die. But then as soon as they showed up at her eye place, I was like, oh yeah, she's going to blind them, and then they'll never be able to enjoy art or photography or anything ever again. And I thought that was great.
Yeah, I think that there's some great stuff in here. The stuff I liked was the subtle hints throughout the movie, because it was all stuff I didn't really catch in the moment, where it's like Justice Smith and Sydney Sweeney were meeting with like friends and I think Justice's sister, and they were talking about like, oh, well, maybe they're, swingers. Maybe the wife knows about all these women. And it's like, well, we don't. How often does that really happen? And it's like, oh, 15% of couples do this. And it's like, okay, well, clearly they're not one of that 15%, but it turns out they are part of that 15%. And then what was the other thing? Oh, when during the stripping scene where he's taking her photo and she's taking off her shirt and he's taking photos and she's like, oh, I'm not ready. He's like, I take my best photos when people don't know. And I was like, that's smart. There's like little lines like that that I really liked, because they all the evidence was there, which is what you should do in like a
writing
thriller.
A good script.
Writing a good script. It's just a shame that like so much of the action in this movie like doesn't make sense. And I didn't like that they killed Justice, if that's what really happened, which I'm taking it as that's what they did. They faked his death to get more drama, but there was no evidence in the movie, at least that I remember, where they called him to, or like sort of like, how would they know that he would come back at the moment she's sleeping with him, and she would have to be like in their apartment waiting for him with the like, because she's been living there. Like, when did she go in, fill that thing with poison? I mean, obviously she probably wouldn't have drank it because that was his drink, so I guess she could have done it anytime, fine. But she would have had to have seen him coming, because obviously I guess she was living in the attic space that we see at the end of the movie. So I guess she could have seen him come in and then waited for him to poison himself and then go in there and hang him. Yeah. I can get that, but it's like, it was just too perfectly timed for it to be believable.
Sure. And a lot
just
of
seemed
things,
extra.
They could have been like, we watched these people have sex and then we stopped and we never engaged with it again, And then these people's whole experiment would have gone nowhere, because the people they were spying on, occupying that apartment, aren't voyeurs. What if they didn't know how to do a laser sound thing and sneak in during the Halloween party? What if they never did any of that? It's like everything lined up so perfectly for these artists for this to succeed. And I guess you really kind of have to roll with it and change as you go, but it just worked out very conveniently for them.
Yeah, I think that the audio portion wasn't necessarily important. Like, I think they would have found a way to interject themselves in their lives. Like, when she goes to the her job and meets her and stuff like that, like, you could have given them the dialogue of, my husband beats me, or like they could have come up with some story, and like, it's just the audio portion was a nice bonus for them. It's like, okay, we can use this to our advantage to trick these people into doing stuff.
And like, what if they didn't know they did that, and they were just kind of like
talking about their plan
this
whole
they're
time.
Just like, are they watching us? Yeah, they're watching. Well, let's have a fake fight. Okay, throw your hands in the air. Oh, I'm so angry at you. That would be a little strange.
Yeah.
But it would have been interesting to see like how these artists would have rolled with the punches if they didn't show up at Halloween or anything like that. Or when she invited her to the spa, she goes like, no thank you, I don't want a friend. How would they have tried to interject in their lives more so?
Yeah. And I mean, all that stuff is like fine because it's a movie.
It's a movie,
you just roll with it.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've never been to a spa and I've never made a friend one day and went to the spa with them. But is that, I wonder, like, how often do you meet someone and then the next day you just get butt naked with them at the spa? I mean, obviously they're both attractive people, and it's like, at this point, Sydney Sweeney's kind of invested, so she's gonna like go along with the bit. So it's just like, to me, that was just like kind of surprising. It's like, you know, if this is a friendship and you guys are just cool with being naked in front of each other, sure. But like to meet someone and be like, let's get naked together, just seems a bit like fast.
I guess
to me, I don't know.
They realize like, hey,
we're women. Who
I'm
cares?
gorgeous, and
you can probably find my photos on the internet. I used to be a model, whatever.
So, you know, I had fun watching this movie. It had some surprises, and like I said, it was kind of trashy. And if you are a fan of Sydney Sweeney, you'll love this. She's so naturally, like, beautiful, but they're really good at kind of, like, humbling her up. Like,
I agree with this. I was going to talk to you about this.
Not that she's ever ugly in the movie, but they're able to kind of, like, knock her down a few pages. Have you seen there's an Amazon movie with her in it. I think it's called Nocturne, where it's like in a music school and her sister is like the best of the best and she can't live up to her.
I've never seen this movie. Look, okay.
It's not a very good movie. It was like they released like 4 horror movies during last Halloween and none of them were horror movies. They were all thrillers, but if you, like, they make Sydney Sweeney so ugly in it, like stringy hair and bags under her eyes, and you look at her in that, and then you look at her in
Euphoria,
and it's like that's not even the same person, because they, like, you know, she has a pretty big chest, and they really hide it in like baggy clothes and stuff, and just make her so frumpy. It's bizarre seeing her like that, because she's one of the most beautiful people in the world.
It's funny because a lot of times in Hollywood movies, you take someone attractive, you throw some glasses on them, make them have like kind of frilly hair, and like that's the uglier version. But they're still like clearly gorgeous because you just put like a ton of makeup on them or whatever. Where I feel like in some of her roles, it's just like all they do, like she looks exactly the same except they just don't put makeup on her, and she's still very pretty, but makes her look like a normal person versus, okay, well now we put makeup on her and now she's a Hollywood starlet, you know.
Yeah. Would you recommend this to anybody?
I'd recommend it to, and not to sound stereotypical, but I think a lot of women who enjoy these sexy romance thrillers would really get into this. I don't think it'll be popular with men 18 to 35 demo outside of attractive naked women, because there's a ton of them in this movie. But we kind of talked about it in our own personal life. I don't think this movie's sexy. I think it's hot.
Okay.
And let me tell you the difference. I think this movie is a fantasy scenario. Like, this is something that someone, like, this stuff would never happen. So that's what this is a fantasy film, so that's what makes it hot. Whereas something sexy is just like maybe your partner throws on a nice piece of lingerie. It's something more passionate and intimate and personal, and
instead of just like raw sexuality.
Instead of raw sexuality, like something that's at least in my they're essentially interchangeable words. They mean different things to different people. My take is this movie is just ridiculous, so it loses a sec because it's not believable. So it's just like, oh, this is a hot fantasy that I know is hot because it's not actually going to happen. But then what's sexy is like if Sydney Sweeney just had passionate love with Justice Smith or even this dude. Like, you could do it in a way that could be sexy. It was just, nope, this is just hot, steamy trash that I just people eat up.
It is hot trash for sure. That's the good poll quote on the poster. Hot trash.
It's just good enough to where I would say I don't dislike it, but not good enough. Like, it doesn't ascend to kind of a Gone Girl level of, that's a quality. I wouldn't call that movie sexy, but that's just a quality thriller with like sexual elements in it. This is just all sexuality with like good ideas in it, and then there's just utter sex garbage like 50 Shades of Grey.
You know what this movie needed? A weird Gabriel parasite monster on the back of Sydney Sweeney.
Ooh. Would that count as a threesome?
It has a face, so but it doesn't have genitals.
How hot would a girl need to be for you to have to allow the parasite there?
I mean, if it's throwing me around the room and shocking me with electricity, no, that's not my thing. But if it...
That would be the main reason I would keep it there. Give me shock to my brain as I'm climaxing.
And, and it can't talk. It'll only talk through, like, speakers and phones and stuff like that. So it would, like, I would be facing her, and I would probably see over her shoulder, like, these little arms, and I'd just kind of be like, it's not there. It's not there. I can... You just gonna never do doggy style. Having this weird thing, just like looking right at you, giving you the thumbs up as you're going to town. Chris.
On a scale from F to A.
Yeah, I gave this movie a B- because I think it's better than a lot of things in this genre. Because a lot of times they're just not that interesting or even more far-fetched. And I really like the cast. I think everybody does really well.
Yeah, I think there's solid performances, especially because I haven't really seen... I've seen Justice and Sweeney and plenty of stuff, but I never saw the couple before except for the guy was in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, but he was also in another Bryan Singer movie.
Oh, was he Angel?
He was Angel.
No shit.
Yeah. I was just like, this guy looks kind of familiar, and then I saw he was in X-Men Apocalypse. I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah. I bet Bryan
Dude's
Singer.
hot.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's why Bryan Singer hired him.
Like, he's a good-looking man.
And his wife is beautiful.
Yeah,
too.
I've never seen her before, but she's
not in a ton of stuff, but good-looking lady.
She's very pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, B-. I'd say watch it if you have Amazon and you love beautiful women. Yeah. Well, all that video game talk really spread this episode out. So I think we're going to have to split this into 2 different parts. We're going to end this one for now. So thank you for everyone for joining the Whirlpool. If you would like to get in touch with us, we at WRPLpodcast@gmail.com and at WRPL Podcast on Twitter. Let us know what you're consuming. Until next time, I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Goodbye, everybody.
Before we get to our next topic, we have a sponsor.
Oh, cool.
Ben, you like comedy, right?
I do like comedy.
And you would say comedy is an art form, correct?
For sure.
Well, then you will love this combination of comedy and art. Or should I say, comedy and fart. It's just for you. Today's episode is sponsored by Artsy Fartsy, whoopee cushions designed with your favorite pieces of classic art. Select from a wide variety of artworks from many of your favorite artists. Is that the...
I think you should go back and say what it is again, because we were laughing through it.
Today's episode is sponsored by Artsy Fartsy, whoopee cushions designed with your favorite pieces of classic art. Select from a wide variety of artworks from any of your favorite artists. Is that the sound of Salvador Dali's melting clocks? No, that's the sound of our patented fart-creating technology designed to give you... That's the sound of our patented fart-creating technology designed to give you the highest sound quality of flatulence you would think. It was designed by Da Vinci himself. Trick your friends and family into thinking someone needs to Van Gogh to the bathroom when you're... Damn it.
Stop being so funny with your wordplay. Oh, God.
Trick your friends and family into thinking someone needs to Van Gogh to the bathroom when your starry night becomes a gassy one. The laughs never stop when your coworkers think your boss made a Jackson Pollock in their pants. We gotta have outtakes of this at the end of every episode.
I did.
Woo!
On the last one. I mean, I had to cut some of it, but yeah.
The laughs never stop when your coworkers think your boss made a Jackson Pollock in their pants during that boring sales meeting. Oh no, fuck. Oh no, is that a turtle head popping out? Nope. I could do this like a straight face with Marley. Alright. Yeah, just don't look at me. Alright. Oh no, is that a turtle head popping out? Nope, that's just your favorite Renaissance painters, Leonardo, Donatello. Nope, that's just your favorite Renaissance painters, Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael, creating the fine art of comedy during that stuffy wedding ceremony. Edvard Munch would scream to get his hands on these amazing pieces of comedy art. After you're done making everyone laugh, each whoopee cushion comes in a carrying case designed to look like a frame so you can decorate your home with these classic art pieces. Make the girl with a pearl earring and Mona Lisa smile with these perfect gifts for any occasion. Go to the website and use offer code WRPL to get 10% off your first order today.
Killing it, Steve.
Thank
Killing
you.
it.
Thank you. Woo!
Ha 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 ha.